back to the podcast. Hi, hope you're doing well. Hope you are alive and well and enjoying your day, night, evening, whatever you're doing. Hi.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yeah, we have to be alive to be well. That's right. You gotcha.
Well, you could be well just in another dimension, if you believe in that.
Yeah, I do believe.
Communicating from the other side.
Yeah, I'm starting to believe a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to stay away from topics that were political, but everything's political these days. Um, I get Trump, 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 Trump.
He just cut Medicaid, so
Yeah. So I saw an article. Well, yesterday I was watching YouTube, and I was watching an interview with Hector Elizondo, and he's written many books on aliens, UFOs, and such.
hmm
He's very accredited. He led many agencies. Naturally, he has to have a lot of the things he writes vetted, but he's very filled with information. He had a 2.5 hour interview, and basically what he said, we got to define what an alien is. It could be something under a microscope, a bacteria, something we never saw before.
yeah.
He said, but basically, without getting into specifics, which would put him in jail or get him killed, the Pentagon does have contacts with aliens,
hmm
alien machinery. And one of the books that he wrote is called Imminent, Imminent. And it seems like it's a very interesting book. So this morning I was trying to look for a topic to discuss based on, uh, you know, things that would be unusual, but all I saw was Trump, 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 Trump.
hmm
And not that that's a bad thing, but it's not a
Well,
good
it
thing.
is, but
Yeah.
I mean, no news is bad news, but it's bad. Also, let's be clear, that thumbs up I did earlier, that was humorous. Let's just to clear that air. But yeah, no, it's bad. I get it. Anyways, keep going.
So I saw an article from July 2nd, 2024 by Neil Riley, and it was for CBS Boston.
hmm
And he also has worked for the Boston Globe and the San Francisco Chronicle. I mean, he's not a fly by night. And he did this article, Aliens Could Be Walking Among Us on the Earth, Harvard researchers suggest. And I'd like to read rather than just discuss it, and then we'll discuss it, what the article is. It says, Cambridge, Are We Alone in the Universe? A recent paper from researchers at Harvard University puts an interesting twist on one of humanity's biggest questions. The paper, which is not affiliated with the university, addresses resurgent interest in UFOs, known officially as unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs, by the government. The United States is tracking more than 650 potential UFOs, a Pentagon official said last year. Harvard researchers Tim Lomas, Brendan Case, and Montana Technological University professor Michael Masters put forward a crypto-terrestrial hypothesis for the UFOs, theorizing that there's a concealed, and I quote, earthly explanation for the sightings. They argue scientists should seriously consider this possibility alongside explanations that pilots are actually seeing human-made technology or something from an advanced civilization in another part of space. Now, we've seen these cockpit videos so many times, But what's inside, Master said in an interview with CBS News Boston. So he asked the question, what is cryptoterrestrial hypothesis? The trio explains that the cryptoterrestrial hypothesis suggests that the intelligent beings responsible for the UFOs may be concealed in stealth on Earth or nearby. They could mean they are underground, on the far side of the moon, or even walking among us and passing as humans. We're not saying this is right. We're not saying that this is absolutely 100% the case. We're saying these are some potentialities. These are some possibilities to help explain the origin of these beings, Masters said. Masters is a biological anthropologist who said he was asked to help research potential explanations for UFOs. He said aliens may actually just be humans from the far future who have figured out how to time travel. Are aliens just humans from the future? Masters said the beings in reported alien encounters are ubiquitously described as looking just like us. He argues it's highly unlikely that aliens looking just like humans would be from another planet. It may simply be that they're us. And in conclusion here, we may go on to look like them, Masters said, referring to typical depictions of little green men. Based on our evolutionary characteristics over the last 6 to 8 million years, we are arguably going to have bigger heads, smaller faces, more advanced technology, and a lot of these traits are described in association with these beings. He speculates, and I use the word speculates, that the intelligent beings may have gone underground until we're ready for contact. We must seem extremely primitive to them based on what we see flying around in the skies, Master said. Something that we should all be talking about. A Pentagon report released this year says there's no evidence that any UAP sightings represented extraterrestrial technology. And while the researchers acknowledge that their paper is a speculative thought piece, they say it still deserves a serious consideration. It is something that we should all be talking about, Master said. He said, technology from the future could help humans tackle the big problems they face today, such as climate change. And what if all just opened our minds to the fact that this thing much bigger than us right now, and that we could learn from it, he said. Now, it's speculation by an educated people. And again, referring to Hector Elizondo, who I mentioned briefly, he has led many government agencies, and he said, aliens are here. Alien machinery is here. And he would not speculate. He's saying it is definite. So let me ask you a question, because I know a lot of people are going to say, why'd you talk about this and anything they say we're full of crap? Why do you believe in time travel?
Probably not the form that was discussed in the article, but to some degree, yeah.
Okay. So basically, you can't disbelieve anything that you can't prove. It's like God. You have to have faith that there is a God.
Well, yeah, this whole podcast is just speculation theory with no factual evidence. The best we can do is come up with excuse me. The best we can do is come up with at least not the most abstract, right? The goal of what we're coming at is this whole thing is abstract, but we're going to try and keep it as least abstract as possible so that it's not just a what if Marvel series. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I do think time travel is possible, but I think only in forward direction. I don't think um, one can travel backwards in time
But
because
that, yeah, but then
so
again, we don't have enough knowledge to say that, right?
right, but that's again why I would believe that. Mathematically, we can prove that you can technically time travel forward already. You just have to be able to go at the speed of light. Because if
Right.
you go at the speed of light, you start to bend time and space, and therefore you would travel a great distance in short amount of time, which would arguably be a form of time travel. And it gets more complex than that, but you would speed of light is arguably time travel forward only. The idea of reversing in time is its own mess of a thing where the only way that I would argue that that kind of time travel is possible is if it's um like Interstellar, where it's like fourth or fifth dimensional beings that are unable to interact with three-dimensional beings such as us in ways that we can comprehend, and therefore making it impossible for us as humans to time travel forwards and backwards unless we were somehow able to upgrade or develop into a fourth dimensional being.
Yeah. Well, Einstein, he believed in dimensions, correct?
Yes.
And therefore, there could be a dimension that's more highly evolved than us,
Right.
correct?
That's what I would
Yeah.
that's what I'm sort of poking at is that I
Yeah.
I would argue the only way that I can viably see time travel in the way that we picture it of forwards and backwards and wherever is it
Right.
would be an additional like a fourth or a fifth dimensioned being that uh has other exists in a different capacity than we do and therefore gets the freedom to travel in such manner because it doesn't have to abide by the rules and mentality that we have to.
Yeah. And, like in Alessandro's conversation in his interview, he said, we got to define what aliens are. It could be something under a microscope, like a bacteria that we discovered that's alien. But he said, again, and I repeat myself, that he has evidence uh, and he discusses certain things in the books he's written. But again, his books have been vetted. He says the Pentagon should be releasing information to the people, but he discusses why they don't. And then again, in the congressional hearings, we've had certain people who were on different agencies come forth, and it was broadcast all over TV
Hmm.
that that there are aliens and
Yeah.
we have alien machineries, and I think the people should know. But again, one of the aspects of this is that the shakeup, if there are aliens, would confuse a lot of people, and it would create a problem with a lot of our religious beliefs.
Correct. That was what I was going to jump in and say is there is a significant aside from the fact that there are cults out there that are waiting for aliens so that they can mass off themselves um because they think that by offing themselves that they're going to get raptured to these spaceships that they've been drawing and they're going to be in basically there it's a Christian adjacent, right? They're believing that by offing themselves when the aliens come, that they will be raptured and brought to their spaceship and live happily ever after in alien world. Um, but aside from that, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people with uh who experience a breakdown of their own religion, and that will cause a lot of people to go crazy off themselves, off other people, think the world is ending, believe that, this is the whatever the Christians call it, the horns of rapture, whatever the hell. There's like something in the book that has to do with when the horns are heard around the world, that means like rapture's coming or something. Um, like you just mass panic, mass hysteria would probably occur. to some degree. I say mass quite generally. Um,
One of the questions asked of Elizondo in his interview was, do presidents know the information
I would
about
say they probably get access to some of the information, but I think it depends on their desire and probably their level of capacity, their level of intelligence.
Yeah. He said,
Because I really highly doubt Trump's getting access to information. I doubt he can read it, but like I doubt
ah,
he's getting access to any of that information. Do I think Biden got any? No. I think Biden got a bendy straw and some carrots and was told, "Yeah, there's some things flying around." So
yeah,
I'm not talking about them. Maybe previous presidents in times who were more
yeah,
coherent.
well, he answered
Uh,
that question. Elizondo answered that question because, again, Elizondo parallels this article, but with more, excuse me, definite information. He said that Jimmy Carter definitely had information about it, that he was at meetings and Jimmy Carter knew about it,
yeah,
uh, that uh, Clinton, he wasn't sure of.
yeah.
He said uh, the senior, again, senior moment, who were the two presidents, father and son, Republicans?
Bush?
Bush, yes, Senior Bush definitely knew about it because, he was a fire pilot.
Yeah.
And he said Obama surmised because he did make some statements, about it, and that Trump, he doesn't believe at this moment fully knows anything about it, but he suspects. And again, um, when I talk to people around here, they don't believe in aliens.
Well,
Um,
here's the thing, right? There's layers to believing in aliens. Mathematically, I think it's impossible to say we are the only living things in the universe. The only people that I tend to find that disagree with that are the hyper religious or the flat earthers who believe we live in a dome and some divine creature only made us, even though space is this infinitesimal thing, and it just usually tends to be because they can't comprehend it. They just think it doesn't exist.
yeah,
Um,
I believe
aside,
in it. I believe the aliens exist.
yeah. Oh, and that's what I was getting at is there's different layers to it, right? Mathematically, I think we're not the only living things in the entire space universe. Is like, it's just not probable. Um,
Yeah,
but
I've
whether they
dated.
whether they live underground like lizard people, or they have cloaking abilities and morphing abilities, and they can look like us and you and me, or they live on the moon. That's where we start to go up for debate, right? Like if you're telling me aliens were able to traverse the galaxy, we can't get past like Mars. We can barely get to Mars. But you're telling me these things can travel across galaxies or a galaxy, get to us, and then we get to tell them when to and when not to show themselves? Or we somehow have the ability to shoot their stuff down? They've got intergalactic traveling capacity. They can literally go past planets like it's nothing, apparently. But we
Yeah,
can somehow shoot them down with some lead bullets. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
There was a combination of shorts on Star Trek
Mm.
with Spock and Captain Kirk, non-talking, that is being highly praised about time travel. And again, I revert back to what I've said in previous podcasts. I believe a lot of these sci-fi shows get their information from what's real, and eventually it turns up that what they're saying or doing is real. And whether it's machinery or uh, just the script itself, it's very, very enterprising. by these directors and producers just to figure it out on their own. They have to have information.
I really like the concept of time travel in Amy Adams' Arrival. I think that came out in like
Yeah,
2010s.
yeah,
I like that. And what parallels that, I'll explain in a minute, but what parallels that is also in Loki, the Marvel TV show, and how he time travels. And they both have to do with consciousness and not just traveling and teleporting wherever they want to any point in time, but time traveling within their lifespan. So they are the anchor point and they can travel to different points within their own consciousness, their own existence. And so it in my opinion grounds the concept of time travel in more of a reality because it does not break down the if you give someone the ability to time travel and they can literally go whenever or wherever in time that they want, it makes no like the earth would blow up because if more than one person can do that, they would go back and kill baby Hitler, they would go back and do this, they would do this and do that, and it would not make sense. So much would constantly be shifting, but then you'd have to have the conversation of, are you aware of the shift? Is it part of the infinite multiverse theory? Like it starts to break down in such a complex and unnecessary manner that I think, um, in a more simpler concept, it logically feels more real and more like it could be a reality by anchoring it to the experience, to the soul, to the person's existence, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah, aliens are always a interesting topic because I think if at this point, if we really do have or have been in contact with aliens as the theories claim in the extent, right? Like Men in Black type thing. Uh yeah, it'd be cool. I'd like it. Like it'd be nice uh to have that. Um uh,
yeah,
like again, I don't I always struggle to see the concepts and the benefits behind keeping that information because if they have technology that can propel us out of uh, a a dying capitalistic society or massive wars across a global scale, and this technology could enact benefits that throw civilization, 1,000 years into the future immediately, what's the point of holding that back? And if the reason is well, people would mass exit the world through panic, um, if they like it trying to normalize that on a global scale, you would think they would just start making alien movies. Like or making alien like TV
yeah.
shows and normalizing the concept, having the aliens in the movies and TV shows look similar to the ones that are hiding, spend about 2 decades doing that, and then say, hey, yeah, here they are. Or like have one of the actors be a real alien, no one like says anything, and they're like, wow, your makeup's really good. And then he rolls up on the red carpet and like hovers over with his alien tech, and he's like, hi.
Yeah,
Gargle, gargle, gargle.
there are a couple of shows like that, but you know what it is? Humans tend to either destroy things that are different than themselves or not fully accept things that are different than themselves.
Humans do have a habit of being parasitic, but I do think
Yeah,
that is a learned skill and not an inherent one. Unfortunately, uh, I would argue it is a learned skill and a deficient
uh,
skill
let,
that a
let's say
recessive
taught.
gene.
Yeah,
Huh?
it could be taught also,
Yeah, well,
And
that's what I'm getting at. Like I
yeah,
think it's a learned skill that gets passed down, not a recessive gene. That's an improper term. I think it gets passed down through teachings. But yeah, parasitic humans do have a habit of being parasitic.
I mean, like, if an alien, and I'm being facetious, but if an alien introduced himself to me and by knocking on the door and introduced himself and he looked different, uh, naturally I might be uh, scared, but I think I would try to welcome him because he's introducing himself. But there are other people right away who would go for their gun and try to shoot them. I mean, that's our society.
Well, it
Can't,
depends. It depends on where you live. If you live in the middle of a midwestern state in the U.S. and you got bears and coyotes and whatever else, and you see something that looks like a cross between a coyote and a goddamn giraffe moose that's bipedal, yeah, you might get you. It looks like a Wendigo. You might get your gun, of course.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Okay.
I don't necessarily disagree with some of these some people's reactions.
Yeah, so
So,
on a more serious note, even though we are being kind of serious, the Congress had those hearings and those people who were highly intelligent working for government agencies came forth and discussed this, and they were genuine in the information that they gave. And this was last year, and we haven't heard anything since then. And
yeah,
that
because
the Pentagon just keeps covering things up. And
yes, and also there have historically in the past, I think it's like 4 years or 5 years, every time major like alien news would drop, there was something else that went on, and I'm poorly bringing this up because I should have. I forget what it was, but there was two major events that happened during the Biden administration where major alien news came up, and it was like the same day or the same week as some major political thing or some law was passed. Like I forget what it was, but it happened twice during specifically the Biden administration, and I know it happened at least once with the previous Trump administration. Um, so I think that's also part of the problem is they use the alien news as rather than just actually trying to get it to the public, it seems to be a strategic scapegoat for other problems, which shows that they have alternative motives, and it also devalues the information that is being placed out there. Whether it's real or not, it just devalues the impact, which may be part of what they're doing. That may be
yeah,
part of the plan is devaluing the impact so that when they inevitably say, "Hey, Joe Buddy over here, he's been an alien for 200 years and he's pretty cool." And we're like,
yeah,
whoa, we don't care. And it's like, yes, that's what we wanted.
yeah. And I hope I got this correct, but I believe in his interview, Hector Elizondo said that there's a lot of stuff in Area 51, that
Oh, I have
can't.
no doubt. I have no doubt that that is a weapons and aircraft testing place that probably has stuff, you know, beyond our wildest dreams. Anytime, anything that is new technology wise, that's like crazy, that comes to the public, you can guarantee the military has had for at least 5 years,
Yeah,
to a perfected version, right? Like that's understood, which is partially why Area 51 and probably the other 52s and threes and wherever else they have them also have their own forms of technological testing and weapon testing and aircraft testing. Um, so one thing I wanted to point was when he stated they could be walking among us, they could be underground, and they could be on the moon. I would argue the least likely one is they're walking among us, just because that feels very just. What was that movie? You know the movie I'm talking about. Blonde guy, he'd put the glasses on and he could see the
yeah,
aliens.
yeah. There were
Um,
two movies, one a remake. Yeah, I know what you're talking
that
about.
one, whatever that the name of that one is, I to me that just does not feel realistic in terms of logic, right? And again, this is all theory. For all we know, they're walking among us, and it bends all forms of logic. But logically, it doesn't seem that way. living underground feels not necessarily like aliens. That may just be another form of existence that lives on a separate layer, right? That's a whole set. Actually, real quick, that's a whole separate, like, we could go into a whole separate thing about that on another time. There is a conspiracy or a theory that there is a second Earth inside out, like under the Earth's crust. I
Inner
believe,
Earth. Yeah.
yeah, inner Earth, and I believe uh, Godzilla and King Kong did that. That's where like King Kong lives, or Godzilla, wherever the hell they live in inner Earth. And so the theory lays that, the lizard people who live on Earth are actually in inner Earth, and they, okay, once in a while will traverse up and speak to us or whatever. Um,
And they're talking about in the cold areas that,
oh, the Tartarians, yeah, in
yeah, the Tartarians.
in the poles, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's another one. Is that that one feels just like Christian rebrand, because
I
it's
don't know.
the Tartarian thing. I'd have to do more research on it, but like from all the information that I've heard in terms of general people who don't do a ton of research on it, it always just seems to be just rebrand Christianity, because it's always these like these like slender ace like slender non-gendered people with no sex organs who are an all white, and they live in an all white castle that's super technologically advanced, and they don't have any need for sex or food, but they communicate in this very gracious way, and they're very gracious people, and it's like a mix between elvish Lord of the Rings elves and like Christianity, like heaven. So again, I would have to look more into it, but every time someone brings up like Tartarians, that they tend to describe a ballpark of that, which is very funny. Um,
Well, maybe, maybe you'll uh, get some answers back on your other podcasts. And I want to congratulate you. What you tell me you had last year, 200 million viewers?
oh yeah, yeah. Across all my other social media platforms, I had it was either 200 or 300 million views total, which
Yeah,
was
so
cool.
maybe 5% of them were aliens.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe they're watching my videos going, he's so wrong. We're over here and on we're actually not on the moon, we're on Mars.
Yeah.
Ah.
So, and I just want to throw out another theory of mine. We look at people who are different because they're different. Uh, we sometimes shy away from them, or we say that they have a sickness. For example, you know, mongoloids, or people who are, what do you call them, slower,
Okay.
and or people that are slower, but then again, they're genius in one area.
Hmm.
Uh, there could be a reason for that. I mean, other than just the gene or DNA. So sometimes we don't understand what we don't understand,
The unfortunate result is there are a lot of people who, when they don't understand something, they immediately fill it with conspiracies rather than try and find fact-based information, or
yeah.
just simply accept that they don't know. So,
Yeah. And again, the biggest threat that we have is what's under the microscope, because we are
oh yeah, yeah.
uncovering different bacterias and things that
Billions.
we have no clue where they may have come from and how to treat them
Yeah.
if they spread.
Yeah, anyone with like OCD or like a really bad like cleanliness issue, don't look that stuff up. You're gonna get really bothered.
Yeah. So
So,
anyway, I said this was going to be a short video, unless you have a podcast,
no,
unless you have some.
that's it. That's good.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say. If you're an alien out there, let me know. Hit me up. Maybe I can get a alien PC or something like a
Yeah,
fun.
contact us at our podcast.
Well, we can do a TikTok together.
Yeah, why not? TikTok. We could dance, we could sing,
Yeah. All
anything you
right.
want to do. Okay.
Well, till the next one. If we get
Peace out.
if they contact us, we'll put them on the podcast.
Yep. Peace out.
Peace out.
Bye.